Yeah, at all. You'll have to excuse me. I've got a stinking cold at the minute. But I've just come across this old clip from BBC. I mean, Jeremy Vine back here has got dark hair rather than grey hair, so and before he had glasses, so it must be quite an old clip. But it's about the Islamification of northern. Well, it's happening all across England, but I think this one in particular is in Blackburn. But I just want to point out just how unbelievably deceiving the media is in its wording. So we'll come across it in a second.
But tonight, Panorama reports from a town where some whites feel so ill at ease with their Muslim neighbours, they're taking flight.
British citizens in a British town, marching and flying the flag.
British citizens, right, so a bunch of Arabs that have moved here, clearly have got no intentions of integrating, maintaining their own culture, basically a bunch of invaders, but the media obviously portrays them, labels them as British citizens. Well, they are British citizens, as in they happen to live in Britain, but they're not British at all. They've got no interest in being British. I mean, they might call themselves British if they get put on the spot and asked, because they've figured out how to take over by a different method. They couldn't do it by the sword, so they're doing it by the back door.
They've got something to celebrate.
Oh, before I forget, and obviously it says flying the flag. Well, what we're talking there, is it the flag of Allah or something like that? Certainly not the Union Jack and the St George, is it? Or the Red Rose of Lancashire. And as he says there, they're celebrating. I bloody bet they are celebrating.
This is Blackburn in Lancashire, a town with an identity crisis. The parade was through what's now an overwhelmingly Asian area.
So he's just said it there. So British citizens one second and then Asian the next. You know, make your mind up. Britain's in northwest Europe, but that's a different matter. They live in Britain, but they're Asian, and they always will be, and that's the end of it. There's nothing British about these people at all. They don't even speak English. They've got no intentions of taking on board anything to do with our culture. We're just here to take over.
It's the anniversary of the birth of the Prophet Muhammad, but not everyone's cheering. Some whites here feel they're being taken over.
Morning. What do you think of it all?
Rubbish.
Rubbish?
Rubbish.
Why'd you say that?
Well, there's a lot of friggin' rubbish.
Well, you live...
I think that lady's Irish, but that must be bloody scary seeing that lot marching past your house, you know, knowing you're living amongst that lot. And she's from the generation that would have known World War II and has witnessed a takeover take place.
Yeah, and this is a colourful religious parade going right past your front door.
Yeah, all their religion, and we done it.
Oh God, I hate these news reporters, especially this one. You know, a colourful religious parade. You can imagine how bad things are going to get in the near future when they really start digging the claws in further and further and growing in numbers. Say 10 years, 20 years time.
We're being thrown out of the bloody country. We're not allowed to do it like this. We can't have our say.
It was a peaceful religious parade, but it was...
Listen to the anger in that bloke who's on the microphone, and then calling it bloody peaceful.
non-Muslims could easily share.
Oh, where is it? Just 1 second.
Past your front door.
Yeah, all their religion, and we done it. We're being thrown out of the bloody country.
It was a peaceful religious parade, but it wasn't an experience that Blackburn's non-Muslims could easily share. To white passers-by, it might have looked and sounded threatening.
Yeah, I can see why. Just a bit, that sound bloody threatening, wouldn't it? You know, a load of Arabs on the streets screaming and shouting in Arabic, with their own flags in their own dress. And I'll give them the credit, they're a strong community, as opposed to towards we're completely segregated nowadays, aren't we? You know, the people of Blackburn are probably too busy wound up about whoever the local football club is they don't like, or whatever nonsense.
The chants aren't in English, and the banners aren't in English.
Exactly, and this is something we try year on year to get the organisers to at least put English banners up, so those who can't read Urdu or can't understand it will know what it is straight away.
I think the vast majority of people don't need to know what it says, because first of all we don't care, and you know, second of all, we can tell, you know, by the mannerisms, it's got nothing to do with anything to do with being British or English. It's just a colonisation.
A few weeks later, it was the Whites' turn to have their parade. In Blackburn town centre, there was a genteel celebration of St George's Day. This time, the Whites were the performers.
Looks absolutely beautiful, that parade does. I'll have to have a look, see if we can get up to Blackburn, perhaps maybe for St George's Day. But this is a long time ago, I think this programme must be about 20 years ago, so whether or not it still exists on the same sort of level.
Asian Muslims were spectators, and England's patron saint stood guard.
The English nature is very laid back and apathetical, really. I think we think, oh, it's okay, we're English and everything's okay, but that's not so at the moment. I think we have to fight now for what we think is English. We have to fight for all those things that really identify us as being English.
But the really frustrating thing is that we did. You know, regardless of what people think about World War Two, you know, we fought because we thought the Germans were going to come and take over. I mean, that was obviously a complete lie. You know, the man with the funny moustache, you know, he's been branded as all sorts. He loved Europeans. You know, he wanted to preserve European culture. He could see the threat that Soviet communism was bringing, you know, from the East. He could see the threat capitalism even was going to impose, and because he could see capitalism was going to sort of turn it into a, you know, a mixed race, dumbed down bunch of atomised consumers. You know, with no roots or identity, which is what they've tried to achieve. I don't think they are achieving it quite as much as they wanted. And you only have to look at the adverts, you know, I mean, I call it like liberal capitalism because the adverts on TV are obviously capitalist, but the miscegenation they're promoting and, you know, the gender identity politics and the same-sex relationships are obviously very liberal. By liberal, I mean extremely far left nowadays. But yeah, you can see there's like a combination between the two. And the Germans, going on to a different topic, but the Germans could see the threat this was going to bring, obviously, to Europe. What the good outcome could, I was only thinking recently, the good outcome to all of this could be that, you know, we completely reverse all this nightmare and we get back to how things should be. Like the Germans attempted to, but unfortunately they failed in their tasking because they were under a lot of threat from communism that was sweeping in from the east at the time.
In Blackburn, there's a white majority and an Asian minority who are nearly all Muslim. They share a town, but keep apart. They haven't.
But the difference being, of course, is that the whites, as you keep calling them, they which is just the English, you know, at least the Europeans. They built that town. The Asians didn't build it, did they? They just moved there after World War Two and segregated themselves into little violent, aggressive communities. I've been to Blackburn. It's a scary place. You know, there's not many places I've felt scared down south, even around London. Certain areas of London, yeah, they're a bit tasty. East End, Dagenham. There's enough people I know packed up and left the East End that I've met in Essex, and you know, when I tell them where I've been, and like, bloody hell, you got some courage. But I generally feel quite nervous around places around Greater Manchester, you know, like Rochdale, Blackburn, Oldham. You know, they're really dangerous places. You know, you push it up too far out there, and it's not going to go well. Yeah.
Had riots, they tell you here, but they've got a growing problem that no one can deny. This is a town that's deeply divided, and its division's getting worse.
The risk is of...
But the thing is, the Liberals, they've caused all this. You know, it's their fault they've caused all this. You know, naturally, like the great Muhammad Ali said to Parkinson, you know, we're much different. Birds of a feather stick together. Bluebirds want to be bluebirds, redbirds want to be redbirds. And, you know, all the birds, but they've got different cultures. And you can say that with fish, birds, whatever, bears. They're all obviously the same species, but obviously like different subspecies and races. And humans are the same. We're not different, you know.
For communities and of people breathing the same air but walking past each other. And I think that in Blackburn we've done better than some other towns. We've sought to avoid the riots that have taken place elsewhere, and we have to work hard to ensure there's better understanding and communication between the communities.
But why should we? Why? Whoever asked, you know, bloody Jack Straw, another tosser, another member of Parliament, Who did you ever ask about this multicultural project that you forced on everybody? You didn't ask anybody, did you? It's your ideology, but you've got no intention of living amongst it, have you? You probably live in your own little gated community, far away from all this nightmare that you've created. But yeah, it's just I'll draw in a bit of attention to this documentary. Another time I might go into it fully, but that's it for now. Cheers. Apologies, one last thing. I forgot to mention also, I'm not 100% sure, but I seem to remember seeing a meme somewhere about Jack Straw that he said that the English are a race not worth preserving or saving with regards to the changing demographics. And that would not surprise me at all. You know, these politicians, quite simply, if you can't see it by now, they're trying to get rid of us. You know, 1 million people came here from the third world last year. They're really, and also the adverts, just look at the adverts. The latest E45's King Cream advert, there's one white person and about 5 or 6 black people. So that should tell you by now they're trying to get rid of us. And they have been for a long time. Alright, that is it. Cheers.